Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Social Media News Live. This is a long time coming. I've seen Phil so much. I've followed him and I've stalked his YouTube channel, and I got to meet him in real life at Ecamp's Creator Camp last year. So I am so excited for you guys to, if you don't know him, I've seen Phil so much. I've followed and I got to meet him at Ecamp's Creator. I am to if like you should. And I'm so excited. So make sure as we're going along today that you ask your questions, because it's like free consulting. Phil's here. Oh my gosh. You're going to have to butt me out, Connor, because I'm going to ask Phil all the questions in the world. And we have two people from Orlando, so I feel a little let out today. So how's things in Orlando, Connor?
It's great. It's definitely going. We have an American Pope. Can you believe that? A Pope that's been to a baseball game. Hard to believe.
Yeah, that's very true. And Phil, I don't know how close you are to Connor, but that's really cool that you're in Orlando when you're not globetrotting everywhere, because that's pretty amazing, all the Adobe stuff.
No one ever says, Phil, how are you? They say, Phil, where are you? And that's fine. I accept that question.
That's great. So as we go along today, once again, we're talking about AI for small business, because Phil literally wrote the book about it. I can't hold up my copy because I get all mine on Kindle, but it is amazing.
Then, Jeff.
Look at that. See, look at these guys. Look at this. So we're going to be talking about his book today, but I want to ask any questions you have of Phil. So make sure you guys do that. We've got our friends already stopping by today. Got my friend Ralph saying, good morning, friends. And we have Gary Stockton saying, good morning, gents. And Tater from But Mostly Disney saying, gentlemen. Boy, look how proper he is. And Chris Stone, my friend Chris, is saying, outstanding guest today. Let's go. Amy Keys, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. And Kira is saying, hey, howdy, hey, happy Friday, y'all. This is going to be a fun show. So once again, ask your questions of Phil. And I'm just going to go into it because I'm going to hit go on the podcast machine and we will get started. Connor, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
You ever catch yourself asking how AI can actually help a small business grow? Maybe you're wondering what separates brands that thrive from those that fade away. Or maybe you're ready to weave artificial intelligence into your daily workflow, but don't know where to begin. If any of that feels familiar, you are in the right place, because today we're excited to sit down with Phil Pallen, who is a branding strategist, keynote speaker, and author of AI for Small Business, who transformed his fascination with design and tech into a career guiding companies around the globe. So Phil is here to unpack his favorite real-world AI tactics, share stories from the front lines, and dish out practical tips that you can apply before this episode ends. Don't leave. But stay here, and you can do it right after. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and let's get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Phil, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. I mean, I can't think of a better way to spend my Friday. It's a Friday at the time that we're recording this live. I have looked so forward to this. You and I met by chance. Met up by chance in the airport lounge at MCO.
Right. That's right.
And that was we sat so like awkwardly, but so wonderfully side by side in the airport lounge catching up.
Yeah.
You had said to me when we met for the first time in person at Creator Camp, oh my gosh, Phil, I know you. And I was like, Jeff, literally, I've been following you for years, since Pinterest days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, for years. So I'm just so happy that we're connected. And also, Connor, we got to meet at Ecamp's Creator Camp. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
This is awesome.
And we've been looking forward to it as well. Like Phil said, I got to see Phil speak at Creator Camp and meet him. He is awesome. We're so excited he's here. But if you don't know who Phil is, you should. Phil is a leading brand and AI strategist who has helped small businesses around the world achieve meaningful growth. He's a trusted collaborator of Adobe, a member of the Content Authenticity Initiative, and has delivered keynote speeches on 5 different continents. That's almost all of them. Phil is the author of AI for Small Business and the creator of Brand Masters, a private membership community launching soon. Again, welcome to the show, Phil.
I'm so happy to be here.
And I just want to do a shout out because really, I guess I got to meet Phil for the first time because of our friends over at Ecamm. They are the ones who sponsor the show. You can always find out more about them by going to ecamm.com/Jeff, and you can save 15% off your first purchase by using the code Jeff15. But once again, amazing community over there. They connect people. They just don't sell software. They actually connect people and really do a good job with their community. So go and check them out. Appreciate them for sponsoring the show. We're going to dive right into it because Phil, you literally, like I said, wrote the book on AI for small business. And I think it's been said you've researched AI 100 times more than many so-called experts. So we have a lot to learn from you. So let's start with some practical AI tips for small businesses, because really your book is packed with ways to streamline everything from like customer service to marketing and then copywriting. But, many small businesses are overwhelmed by AI, and you often suggest like starting small, like picking one AI tool to tackle your biggest pain point. So can you give us an example of how a business might do that? Like what's the first quick win with AI for someone who's really new to it?
Oh my gosh, yes. And what I love about this space right now is we're all learning. Yes, I may have written a book about this, but the truth is, guys and gals and everyone else out there, I'm learning just like you. And so, where I would get up on stage and speak with absolute confidence about a topic that that I built a business around, personal branding, social media strategy, marketing, that's been 15 years. When we think about AI, this has really only been generally accessible to us for about 2 to 3 around that
Mm-hmm.
years. I remember getting an email from a brand called Synthesia. It was 3 or 4 years ago. They said, Phil, we like your YouTube videos. We're just starting to create content on YouTube. We'd like you to try our custom avatar. It might be a lot of fun to create a Phil avatar. And I said, how do I know you're not going to do that and then use it for government propaganda in Venezuela? And they said, we're not going to do that. We're a part of this organization called the Content Authenticity Initiative, actually owned, created by Adobe. Wasn't doing anything with Adobe back then, but I said, yes, I'll work with you. I'd love to try this technology. I've always been interested in technology. 2011, when I started my business, social media was all the rage. And I've always just been interested in this, but I've always been interested in technology in terms of how it fits with being human. From a branding standpoint, pre AI, I've always said the best brands recreate the in person experience. So
Mm.
it's not about embellishing or exaggerating, but how do we take what we're doing in real life and communicate that in 3 seconds or less online? That's always been what I've been interested in. But AI has come along, made a video for Synthesia. It went viral. That kind of paved the way for my side hustle,
Mm-hmm.
which was content creation that I started creating YouTube videos right before the pandemic, purely, Jeff and Connor, as a way to just like learn. I'm not
Yeah.
really, believe it or not really a big writer. Um, I can do it, but I'm kind of slow. It took me a year, a little longer than a year to write the book, and research it was actually a bigger task than writing. But like, I like to do this. I like to stream. I've been using Ecamm, actually, funny you mentioned, for years, not just as a tool to stream, but as a tool to create
Mm-hmm.
content like YouTube videos. And I like learning. And we're just in an era where there's so much opportunity to learn. I don't know everything about AI. My AI creator friends don't necessarily know everything there is to know. So we kind of pick our lane.
Mm-hmm.
My lane is productivity for solopreneurs and for business owners and for small business owners, which paved the way for me to kind of write this book and continue to create content. The publisher found me on YouTube. They watched
Wow.
one YouTube video about ChatGPT, which was me just kind of trying to make sense of this tool in the earlier days, not necessarily being an expert. But the publisher said, Phil, we like how you communicate what a lot of small business owners might find complicated and overwhelming. We like how you put it into simple terms. So, Jeff, to answer your question with a little bit of backstory before, that's my area of focus.
Mm-hmm.
How can small business owners stay laser focused on the things that matter, areas of their business where they make high impact, things in their business that they enjoy doing, like live streaming or creating content? Or for me, I love like creating my graphics for my YouTube videos. Should I
Mm-hmm.
delegate that? Probably. but I enjoy it.
Right.
And this is
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
business. So I'm going to keep doing it. The opportunity exists where there are things on your to-do list that you don't enjoy doing, things that don't bring you joy. And so it's super important, step one, before we like pay for an AI tool, it's super important that we become accountable for our working minutes. So use a tool like Everhour or use a tool like a manual to-do list or
Right.
agenda
Right.
and literally make note. Anything that you spend more than 5 minutes on in the working week must be noted. It's going to
Hmm.
take you longer to write that down if you do it manually. But I use Everhour, so I literally click the play button, which overlays on Asana, Monday, Trello, Notion. It works on all of those, and it means that I can attach time to my task so that at the end of the week on Fridays, I will look back at my week and go, with a highlighter. What brought me joy this week? Keep doing it. Where did I make high impact in my business? What are those tasks that Phil Pallen really needs to be doing? Keep doing those. But more excitingly, what are the things I did this week where I didn't make high impact or I did things that I didn't really enjoy? Now we're in a very exciting time where we can delegate and or automate those things with the help of AI and with the help of AI tools. That's kind of my nutshell and my stance and my suggestion on where to start.
That is
I
awesome.
love.
I love it because I love that you take we're talking about AI tools and you use a highlighter. Like, but that makes sense. Like, because we can do
Yeah.
that in any sort of task manager we have. And I just think that
Yeah.
that little piece of advice, one, I'm going to start doing that more because that makes a huge difference. And I love that you said, I like editing. I'm going to continue to do what I want. Because so many times all the gurus tell you, okay, you got to delegate this and delegate this. But if stuff brings you joy, keep doing it because you're good at it, kind of a thing. Love it. Love it, Phil.
That's awesome. I love
And
the
because you
time.
enjoy it. Because
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
enjoy it. Like, you guys, I've been reflecting on it this week. Funny for it to come up in conversation, but like, I maybe this is me maturing and getting old, but like, I care less about growth, scale, more money in the bank account. Like, I those things are important, and obviously I want to be productive and I want to be rewarded for hard work, but like,
Mhm.
I care about spending my working minutes doing things I enjoy, having clients I like, having projects that excite me and challenge me. And so that all sounds great in theory, but like, I'm a big fan of like small steps towards completing this marathon or completing this first mile of the
Right.
marathon. And so, Jeff, to your point, let's try to be accountable for where our working minutes go. My approach isn't, let's get this done faster so we can work more. In fact, my approach is, let's work less, but still get the same amount of work and impact done. But then it frees us up time to do the things we like doing that are probably not sitting in front of a computer.
Great advice. Great advice.
So true. I think a big thing too is, you know, AI can help us do the things we don't want to do, right? That are tedious and those sorts of things, but it can also help our business be more efficient and be more automated.
Yes.
Phil, you talk a lot about customer service and,
Yes.
75% of customers expect brands to offer 24/7 support. That's just not the
Yeah.
case when it's a solo sort of thing or a
It's
small
not.
team, but we're attuned to that, right? I just placed an order for some shoes on Amazon 2 days ago. It's supposed to be here today. It hasn't shipped. I'm losing my mind. I don't know, where are these shoes, right? We're so conditioned to this now, but AI can kind of help alleviate that stress and not have to have us constantly be checking our email, our messages 24 hours a day. And I think it kind of comes down to like chatbots and AI powered tools that can help you with customer service. What are your thoughts around that? And where could someone start when it comes to building or getting a tool for an AI chatbot that can help their business?
That's a great question. I think agentic AI was probably the most commonly used term at Adobe Summit in Las Vegas about a month and a half ago. Um, that's across the board. Obviously, I work a lot with Adobe and typically talk a lot about their tools and platforms on my own social media. But agentic AI is here to stay. Let's understand quickly why. Um, this is a form of or an access to AI that simulates natural language. It simulates conversation. And that is all we want and need, right? If we think about friction points or barriers in the past few years in marketing, it's typically technology sitting in between you and me, causing friction. The most beautiful thing is when the three of us get to sit down and have coffee and listen to what we say, content. We remember how each of us says it, personality. Those are the two elements of branding that I've been teaching since I started this in 2011. And so now we've got the technology that really beautifully simulates human conversation. So, for example, when I'm opening ChatGPT and I'll say, I need your help writing a YouTube script for my next video, which is a sponsored content partnership with CookieBot by Usercentrics, a great platform to ensure that you're compliant and respecting privacy laws and compliance. So I'll say my most commonly used prompt, \DTA. Don't take action yet. Right. So I use a tool called TextBlaze to save all of my text snippets in Google Chrome. It'll populate them really quickly. I type \DTA. Don't take action yet. ChatGPT will say, or Gemini or Claude, whatever you're using, it'll say, okay, great. This is the task. Feel free to provide more information before I take action. So then I'll say, here's the brief provided by the brand. This is what they're looking for. Don't take action yet. Okay, great. I see the brief. And I'll say, here is a PDF or a copy and paste of 3 recent YouTube videos that I've done to give you some idea of the formatting and the structure that I follow. Learn from that. Don't take action yet. Great. And then if I'm playing really dirty and I don't know much about the brand, I'll say, here are transcripts of 5 other creators that have recently created on this topic. Don't copy them. It's important to me that we have a unique stance on this, but learn from the way that they're phrasing things and the features that they're putting forward and the criticisms that they're presenting. I bet there's something in here for us to learn. Okay, boom. So in like 3 steps, I've now collected a huge amount of data that my P-brain could not have computed probably in an entire day. But I have now used AI. I've now used AI to essentially get the task done, or at least get a draft that I can finalize as the human in about 15 or 20 minutes. I wanted to just give you, I love practical examples, which you'll know if you've read more than 2 pages in the book. Like, I like practical examples. We don't need to hear from anyone that's like, ooh, if you haven't jumped on the AI train, you're too late. I hate that. In fact, I know a lot of successful people that don't use social media, and I know a lot of successful people that haven't figured out AI yet, and that's perfectly fine. But if we can start small and stay practical and lean into the opportunities where it can help us be more productive, work less, those are the opportunities that are exciting. So that's one example of how I'll use AI today. And I think agentic AI, to close that thought, it's really just any opportunity for us to have a conversation that simulates human interaction. And then, of course, leveraging on some database of information. And the speed at which it can do that is faster than humans can.
Jeff, I have a follow-up
Sure.
on that as well. So Gary was asking about DTA being a shortcut, and you said it was just a text-based shortcut and just says don't take action. What is why do you do that? Like, instead of just doing one big dump with every single PDF and all the information you have about a brand, why do you decide to chunk it up like that? Is there any rhyme or reason?
I love this question because it's proof that my approach isn't necessarily applicable to absolutely everyone. And that's what makes this landscape so beautiful. Isn't it funny that we've been using Google for a decade and a half or longer, and we know exactly what we need to do? We need to formulate a question that's going to get us an answer. And yet we can open a chatbot, or we can open ChatGPT, and basically, we don't need a question. We can say, actually, the first thing that I'll say in a chat is, here's how I'd like to use this chat. That's all I say. And then it'll summarize. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And then it updates the name on the chat. And I go back and rename that with the client code or an organization hierarchy so that I know how to quickly find it when I need it later. There are chats that I've been using for over a year. And by doing that, I can go to those and say, hey, this doesn't sound like Phil Pallen. Make this sound more like Phil Pallen. And it knows exactly what I mean. To answer your question, Connor, I'm more of a conversationalist. So you'll know this by chatting with me. Yeah, I have lots of words, but I prefer to have a conversation. So it's really kind of reflective of my communication style. And I'd say most humans to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, or here's what I want to do. And I'd like to provide more information on that. Don't take action yet, because I want to just get this thought out in the way that's true to how my brain works. So a lot of times I have my phone ready to go over here with ChatGPT open, and I'm working on the desktop typing things. And then I'll open it up and I'll just say, don't take action yet. I want to send you an audio note of some of my loose thoughts on this. And I've learned probably the most important rule with AI is like output is always contingent on input. So as much as it can save us time, you need to take the time to give as much info and context as humanly possible. So for me, that's kind of like piecemeal. Like in a conversation, we go back and forth and I learn and I think and I land on ideas. I've kind of set up my workflow to accommodate the way that I'm comfortable communicating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I really want to have the audience really hone in on is that I think a lot of people think of AI as like, oh, it'll help me write my emails or my social media posts. It'll help me write stuff. But I love how you're talking about it's data. Like you can put so much data in it and get it to output all this stuff. Like even for the show, like I'm able to go and say, hey, ChatGPT, go look at all the transcripts of the last 5 episodes of Phil's YouTube channel. Okay, here's the questions that I highlighted from the book that I read. Because I do it on Kindle, it automatically goes to Notion, and I can take all that stuff and dump it in to ChatGPT. And I say, I want to ask Phil questions that most people don't ask him before. So I'll put some other interviews that you've done. And it spits out, and I use deep research, and it spits out this really long document that gives me these great crafted questions that are still me because it knows my tone of voice and all that stuff. But I just think that people don't understand how powerful that the analytical properties that you can throw in and all the data you can put in to ChatGPT, they just think it's a writer. So I just really like what you said. I'm going to try. I have not tried that. That slash what is it? DT do not.
Yeah. Don't take action yet.
Don't take action.
I tell ChatGPT that. I want to, before we lose this thought, I want to just draw attention to something. I have said almost every question that either of you have asked me, I have said, that is such a good question. Because the truth is, the questions that you have asked me are truly tailored to my brain, and they are extensions of what I spent a year writing. To me, in the guest seat here, I feel like you have done your homework and made me feel very special as a guest because you're not asking me things that I've answered 500 times on other podcasts. That's how I feel. Okay. And so that's a compliment to both of you. I am really interested in this right now. How do we make people feel special? How do we do our jobs better? And how can AI not be an indication of laziness, but instead a way that we are able to operate in our true area of genius? And I love examples, so I'll give a quick one. As a brand strategist, part of my task is to position a brand for success, build something to show for it, photography, brand identity, website, and then create a social media strategy or a promotions strategy that can include content, social media, SEO, hand that off to my client for success. Like, what do you call it on a bike when you're learning how to bike, those little wheels? What are those
training
called?
wheels? Yeah.
Training wheels. Yeah, like training wheels. It's Friday. It's been a long week. I couldn't remember training wheels. But like, I've always thought of myself like that. Like my job is to put the training wheels on and say, okay, now you've got everything you need to go be successful out there. I believe that AI has made me better at my job that I've been doing for 15 years. And I'll give an example. I will. From the second we start working together and we have our first conversation, everything is transcribed. It's then uploaded into ChatGPT on a Teams plan, minimum 2 seats, $30 per seat, entry level subscription. that does not train the model on my data. Love ChatGPT and OpenAI, except for my concerns about privacy and compliance and security. Even though it doesn't train the model on my information because I pay $60 a month so that it doesn't, I still don't put confidential, sensitive information in there. I just don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
I will quickly swipe over, upload a PDF that I own or that I have, and use Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant, which does
Oh, it's
not
amazing.
train the model on your information. It's that little rainbow button right in the corner of your Acrobat PDF. It is safe and secure, and it's like $5 a month, is like less than a Starbucks per month. And
Right.
that is, in my opinion, the safest way to interact with your own data and information. So I use a combination of the two. Point being, 4 months into a project, a client project, I can say, hey, chat, or hey, AI assistant, remember when that client told me this story about growing up and how it impacted their outlook? Let's go back and revisit that story and see how we can weave it into the about page copy on their new
Mm.
website. Pre-AI, I would have had to rely on my memory. Good freaking luck.
Right.
Whereas now I feel in every aspect of my business, I'm like the conductor of the orchestra. I'm not every musician playing every instrument, but I am conducting this orchestra, Jeff, in the way that you described your podcast workflow,
Mm-hmm.
that you've fine-tuned and enjoyed the process of perfecting it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the joy and the opportunity, I think, of the era we're in right now.
Yeah. And I want to just be clear that I mean, I read your book and I highlighted stuff. So I'm not just like dumping data and just saying, hey, find out who Phil is, and then just like going cold to this call. Like, I mean, you still have to do work. And I know everybody
You
wants to
do.
hit that easy button, but instead, use it to enhance what you're doing and write better questions and understand your customer more. And don't just think it's an easy button, because there's going to be a lot of that, content vomit out there. And if you can stand out by being a better interviewer or a better show host or whatever, it's going to make a difference. So anyway, I just wanted to make that clear, because
100%.
I don't want people to think like, oh, just throw it in there and it'll spit out whatever you want. You always have to check, and it's always got to be you and your voice. So I want to bring some of our questions and comments from our amazing friends in the audience. Kira says, I love what Phil is saying. It's a great research tool, and also the writing AI does for us is only as good as what we provide for it. And Magi said, you better double check. This is Dustin, and I know you mentioned him in your book, Magi, as well.
I
So
love Dustin. I love
Yeah.
Magi. I recommend it in the book.
Yeah. So he says, better double check it's not training new models. That setting sometimes switches itself back on, which as an AI developer, he would know for sure. So,
You would know.
and then, of course, my friend Cast Ahead, because I know he does the same thing. He says, using LLMs for guest prep on podcasts improves everyone's experience.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Keep your questions and comments coming. I'll try to bring in as many as I can today. But I wanted to ask you, Phil, one of the questions from your book is like, small businesses, and this kind of goes into our data analytical kind of thought right now is, small businesses juggle. They have their social posts, they've got ads, they've got emails. There's a lot going on. So in AI for small business, in your book, you describe how AI can even auto adjust ad campaigns on the fly, like dynamically tweaking budgets based on all these other, click-through rates and all this stuff. So how can a tiny marketing team leverage that? For example, what task in marketing or advertising would you like automate with AI to let a small business kind of punch above its weight, so to say?
Yeah, there's a few ways to do it. I'm generally a fan of any kind of tool that can bring like multiple platforms together. Funny enough, Magi and Dustin leaving a comment is a perfect example of a really powerful platform that eliminates the need for you to have to go to ChatGPT and then Claude and then Gemini and then all the others and test all of this. Magi brings everything into one dashboard and one console so that you can actually focus on actually learning and testing and researching which tool is best
Right.
for the task. For example, Gemini, I really like for anything that needs a strong citation. Like even when you say to ChatGPT, get me a citation, give me 5 citations that are no older than 2 years or no older than 6 months, it's still not great at that.
Yeah.
Whereas Gemini is really created by Google, so it's designed
Right.
around that. All of this, Claude is actually much better at creative writing than ChatGPT is. And Magi, all of this to say, Magi is like the great tool that allows you to test all of these in one space without having to go hop from tool to tool. I can't remember. It's been a few years since I made a video for that tool. So what is the name of that tool? I can't remember. There's 188 tools recommended in the book. So, and I've been creating YouTube videos from at least half of them for the
Right.
last 4 years. I'll remember it as soon as we're not live. But that tool is that tool is a really great one. I have it on philpallen.co/tools. I'm full screen on eCam right now, so I'll open it in a moment. That's so I focus on this conversation and not get sidetracked by another tab. But that's another tool that basically gets you out of Facebook Ads Manager, which is my version of hell. And I know a lot of people agree. It creates a really clean dashboard that brings in Facebook Manager, brings in Google AdWords Manager, and like just presents to you in its own dashboard the information that only the information that you need. So you're responsible for providing the creative, and it essentially uses AI to optimize and handle everything else. That's like a dream tool for someone like me that is not really a big fan of spreadsheets and ad consoles. So that's an example. Like basically, Jeff, like take inventory of the team and like, what is it that you're good at? It might be a creative team. Like, you get excited by creating ad creative, and someone like you is using Midjourney to create amazing images. Before I forget, good job on the image of me.
That wasn't Midjourney. That was actually ChatGPT today.
Well, I'm impressed. It was really fun. I was like, that actually looks like me. There's a few extra wrinkles in the forehead, which I pay for a lot of Botox so that doesn't happen in real life.
Right.
But I still appreciated the realism.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say, to answer the question seriously and stay on track, kind of take inventory of the team. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Like, if you want to focus on the creative and A/B testing that, then lean into that. Find a tool that helps you with the numbers and the heavy lifting on that front. Vice versa, if the creative is your weakness, then lean into tools, Midjourney, DALL-E. Of course, I'm going to say Adobe Firefly, which is the tool among those that is safe for commercial use. Doesn't sound sexy, but when you're a company that could get sued for accidentally using the likeness of Spider-Man, that's a problem. So I stick with Adobe Firefly, where I can create images that are safe for commercial use. You can use structure reference if you want to tell the AI on how you want it to look, or composition reference. Style reference says, like, here are the colors, the textures, the style that I want you to follow. And I think we're going to see, they just came out with Firefly version 4, and it's amazing with people and limbs and detail. I feel like every single day these tools are getting better and better and better. It's a very exciting time.
It is. It's really cool. Especially just even if in one lane, like image creation, like, which I kind of really follow. It's so fast. Like, it just moves every week.
It's Jeff, so fast.
You say it all the time. This is the worst it's ever going to be, right? It's only going to get better from here on every single thing. Phil, one thing I love about the book is that you include prompts in it so that you can just basically take it, put it into your LLM of record and go from there. But I think the thing that really takes it over the top is when you can convey your brand, your personality, your voice to the LLM, and they can take that and put it in your own words. But what's the easiest way to do that versus just going months and months and months of back and forth? Hey, here's my voice, here's my brand. I know people upload documents and stuff, but if someone's just starting out and they want it to sound in their voice as quick as possible, what's the best way to start with that?
I, again, love this question. These are such good questions. Please be impressed by my ability to multitask, because while you ask that question, I quickly scan my tools page. The name of the tool for running your campaigns from one dashboard is called Otis. I just, for some reason, always forget the name of it.
Got it.
Maybe that's branding. Maybe it's my brain. So the best way to teach the LLM how to sound like you, and by the way, it's a very, very important first step, so that we don't have delves and treasure troves and unleash your creativity, unlock the potential, and dash here and everywhere. Like, I, by the way, love the revolt right now against people saying, I used M dashes before Chat GPT, they've ruined it, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Right.
I actually welcome, embrace, and enjoy the friction, because these are moments where humans are going, we're human. And I actually like that. I want
Mhm.
humans to stay in charge. So I like those. I think those moments are welcome. But so the way to do it, we know that AI, the best thing that it can do is compute a lot of information quickly. So Connor, what I would do is I would sit here on a Friday for about 10 minutes, timer on, and go, let me grab a handful of different existing pieces of content that are good illustrations of how I sound and what I say. So my brain immediately goes to call transcripts of strategy calls. So clients that are
Mm.
asking me advice. Or here's another one. You go on a podcast interview, I'm doing it right now. I will record locally my answers to questions, only mine, because it's
Right.
I'm having running an Adobe Audition in the background. I can then take that transcript, like you asking me good questions is helping me give good answers to things I've never said before, things that are
Right.
not even in the book because you guys have done so much research. I can take those and leave it in a little folder, leave it in a little project folder or a PDF. Phil's thought leadership. So focused on the things that already exist: podcast transcripts,
Mhm.
call transcripts, blog posts, Instagram caption, LinkedIn text only posts, um, Pinterest pins. Like, I mean, get creative here with like the things that you've created that look and sound like you over the years. Ideally, any moment where you've shared your thought leadership, that should go into this kind of centralized repository. I'm actually working right now, preparing for a workshop that I'm going to teach for Creative Mornings. I think sometime in June or July, and it's basically doing this in the form of a PDF. I'm kind of calling it a create a custom GPT, no code required, like non-tech.
Oh, cool.
Um, Essentially create a PDF up to 600 pages with a few pages. I'm designing the framework right now, but Connor, I'm thinking like first 2 pages would be answer these 5 questions that give us an opportunity to hear and define your brand voice. So that's what I'm working on now. So stay tuned. But I'm kind of creating that framework in a no tech way to basically hand over to someone and say, just fill in the blanks and add a few pages of examples that I define, and you're off to the races. You need to have that kind of information to juice it, squeeze it, get what you need out of it.
Nice.
That's so awesome. One of the things that, we have a lot of creators in the audience who, have a podcast or do YouTube videos or whatever. And I think what you just said is so key because there's so much content that we have already done that is not
So
tapped
much.
into. Like I just went and uploaded a year and a half of my transcripts. And it's so funny because like 2 years ago, I couldn't even put an hour's worth of a transcript in there. I'd have to chop it up and try to do these workarounds with ChatGPT.
100%.
And now you can put in like a year and a half of an hour long. I don't even know how many hours that is, but say, I even ask it like, what products can I make from this? Or what can I write a book based on this? Give me some ideas. And the amount of the way it was able to distill that. So I really encourage anybody who's been doing that for a while is go grab those transcripts, throw them in ChatGPT and just start asking questions. Like there's so many cool things you can learn about your company, yourself, your audience by doing that. It's just phenomenal. So I want to get into some questions because you mentioned some custom GPTs, and Kira has a great question. She goes, would you have any advice for those wanting to create a custom GPT to sell that is geared towards supporting a specific target audience or industry? Do you have any advice for Kira?
Yes.
Cool.
So one of my business besties recently did this. I haven't done this. I've wanted to do it, but I suppose I haven't put it high enough on my to-do list to actually take action on it. But my friend Becca Harpain, whose brand is Inside the Square, she's the reigning queen of, and it's very niche, Squarespace CSS tutorials.
Wow.
She recently took all of her knowledge, blog posts, video transcripts, code snippets, and created a product from that and was wildly successful with her launch. One of her best launches, maybe her best launch in her entire business. career. And it's because she had an audience of people that already know, like, and trust her, and people that responded very well to like basically having that 24/7 resource where you can go and get a taste of Becca's knowledge and brand voice also, and personality, right? It's not just knowledge, it's paired with personality that keeps us coming back to you for more. So my advice would be, try not to get lost in the technical weeds of this. The task at hand is, how do I bring all of this information together? The more information you bring, the better the output. So the better the input, the better the output. And so be really focused, instead of on like, what fancy tech tool can I code and work for this, be more focused on like, how can I make sure, how can I gather the information I need to make this a good GPT? How can I centralize this, and what else do I need to provide, and how, test it? There are so many ways that you can do this. You can use a custom OpenAI, like customize it on the back end to create your own GPT. They make that very easy. I've taught you today how to do it for $5 a month with Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant. The difference being, like, if there's any kind of sensitive information potentially in what you're providing, I would never put that into ChatGPT. I just don't trust it. So what I would do instead is I would open it in Adobe Acrobat, click the rainbow button in the corner, and then the difference is, when you get an output in Acrobat, it gives you a citation that you can click, and it will take you to the specific spot of where it extracted it. So just think about like the right solution for you. If you're not a technical person, then keep it non-technical. Deliver it in the form of a PDF, or deliver it in the form of a ChatGPT custom GPT that you can share and sell access to. You don't need it to be super advanced. If you want to make it technical, you can. I'm actually not a very technical person, and so many of my solutions are based on paid tools that have a friendly UI for a busy, productive person like me. I have other friends, like my friend Mike Russell, who I caught up with a few days ago. Yeah, he and I and his wife Isabella, we talk every month and catch up on all of our nerdiness. And Mike is always steps ahead of me on what he's like coding and customizing and zapping together. But that's him. That's his curiosity and his kind of level of comfort and challenge for himself. So yeah, there's so many ways of doing it now. Try not to get overwhelmed by the tech would be my short answer.
Awesome.
That is awesome. And we have a great question here. Perfect for Dustin, or perfect from Dustin for Phil, the Adobe guy, of course. And Dustin from Magi says, have you looked at Adobe's privacy data training policy? He hasn't, but he heard it might be pretty invasive. Can you comment on that, Phil? I know you talk about, that's your go-to for a number of reasons for privacy and security. What makes Adobe different than the other LLMs out there from an AI perspective and privacy?
Sure. So I should clarify right off the bat, I'm not an employee. I don't work for Adobe. I work with Adobe. I'm contracted to work on projects. Certainly, you may have heard in the news, of course, Adobe and any of these kind of like early to market or like leading tech platforms, any kind of, I would say, misstep or alleged misstep makes the news, because there's a lot of negativity towards AI. Understandably, people are scared. People are upset. I think what made the news a few months ago was something in the terms and conditions, which truly was a misunderstanding. It's actually not invasive. Of all the AI tools and companies, Adobe errs more on the side of safety than the others. So it does not train on your data. It doesn't own your data. If that's something that you're concerned about, Adobe is one of the tools that I would recommend using.
That's great. Yeah, I think things are, so we've been talking about kind of the here and now, and I want to look now to kind of the future, because we mentioned that AI is evolving at this crazy, I've never seen something move at this fast ever. Even with personal computers, because I'm old, I remember when personal computers came out, and the Commodore VIC-20, and then, all this stuff. And it still took a while to get in the schools, but this stuff is just moving and changing so fast because of the internet and all this stuff. But I want to talk about strategy for keeping up with everything, because in your book you don't just list tools, you also emphasize building a comprehensive AI strategy for the long run.
Yeah.
So as an AI strategist and a keynote speaker, because I've heard you speak so well at eCamp's Creator Camp, you got kind of a front row seat to what's coming next. So let's talk about future proofing and where AI is headed for small business. So like if a small business wants to kind of I can't even speak, future proof itself, where should they start? In your book, you urge owners to like take that time to develop an AI plan. So
Yeah.
what should they do? Like, how can they figure out where to go and what will make the most impact on their workflows?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like giving a structure and saying, "Hey, start with this, but then customize it for your own business or for your own workflow." I think you also did that in your example of how you do your podcast guest or episode research.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what's so cool about this. We're all kind of saying, "Hey, here's this cool thing I figured out. Um, if this is helpful for you, great, use it." But you then might have ideas that you can share that I learned from. That's the space we're in, and I find it really, really exciting. So even pre-AI, I've always been a big fan of like creating a framework or like a 3-step
Mm-hmm.
process. Here's how we can start to think about this when I'm building a brand: position, build, then promote, sticker for sale sign up front of the house. Like that kind of process I follow or teach is also indicative of like the process, the journey that I take my clients on. So my advice looking forward is surround yourself with smart people that have the time and the bandwidth to continue learning on your behalf. What I mean by that, typically a lot of creators, I mean, you guys are a great example. I mentioned Mike Russell has his YouTube channel, Creator
Absolutely.
Magic. Great example. I, in my own way, have my own lane. You won't find me talking about super technical tools, but you will find me reviewing and recommending AI tools and platforms because that's my job. That's become my job. So 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 100% of my income was client services, creative, branding, website, logo. Now that is, I calculated yesterday, first quarter of the year, 20% of my business is client work. And the rest is made up in now content creation, brand
Mm-hmm.
partnerships. So, yes, of course, I'm getting paid by the brands for the tools that I'm reviewing, but I've been doing this for 4 years. And so you can expect someone like me, like a pilot, I have accrued a lot of hours in this
Right.
space. So
Right.
when I make a recommendation and when I review a tool and I say this is great and this could be better, you know, consider it. And ideally you surround yourself with a handful of people that can help you stay informed without it overtaking your day or derailing your afternoon. One of the most important things for small business owners, which is my target audience, is to keep your eye on the prize, which is not learning about the latest AI chip technology for the afternoon. It's focusing on the things that I outlined earlier on. Where do you make high impact? What do you enjoy doing? What do you not enjoy doing? Or what are the things that that you're doing that are not high impact? Get them off your to-do list and hand them over somewhere else. Like it is way more important for you to be focused on those 3 things than it is for you to spend the afternoon trying and testing and signing up for free trials of AI
Right.
tools.
Right.
So surround yourself with smart people and creators you trust to help guide you along the way. That would be my recommendation, and try very hard not to get distracted and derailed by all the shiny objects that exist right now.
That's great advice, especially for
And
small business owners. Yeah, really
oh
good.
yeah, shiny object syndrome is real. It's real, and
It's
and the
real.
more you can neglect it and not let it feed into you, the better. We've talked a lot, Phil, about how the most impactful way to use AI is when it can talk like us, when it can use our style, when it can
Yes.
connect to consumers or customers because it's acting more like us, right? And that's great. But there's a fear that it could also replace the human touch, right? Which we don't
Yeah.
want to happen. It's still crucial that with small business, we have that human touch. So as AI gets more powerful, as it gets more ubiquitous, and we're using it more and more in our day to day business plans, how do you see solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small businesses able to keep that personal and human connection with their customers?
It's again a great question. I know I should stop saying that, but when the questions are so good, I am forced to compliment you. Um, I always go back to like kind of pre-AI thinking. For me, it's always been lean into personality. Your brand is going to be successful online because it looks and feels and sounds like you. That's what I've been saying since I started, because I feel I have such a strong conviction that is the truth, whether it be in my own experience, growing my own brand and building a business that really fulfills me, but then also doing this for 400 clients which I have since I started. So, um, I even wonder, I've been thinking this week, like, I wonder if branding is less important than it used to be 2 or 3 years ago. And what I mean by that is like having a picture perfect, well executed, squeaky clean visual brand that everyone on the team follows. I think it's important for a corporation, but for a personal brand, like, aren't we kind of in an era where we like mistakes because they remind us that a human wrote it or created it versus something quickly AI generated that looks or could be perceived as lazy? We've talked about that. So it's just like something I'm marinating on. I always like to give the disclaimer that I don't necessarily have all the answers on the topic, but I'm certainly curious to explore them and have discussions about it. I don't necessarily know what the future holds, but certainly I think that it's really underscoring the need for human, and I love these reminders on when and why AI can't replace humans. I
Mm.
think it can never draw on human experience in the way that we can from lived human experience. It's not as good at storytelling. Even when you provide lots of input, it doesn't come anywhere close to what a human is able to generate creatively. Um, um, those are the types of things that I think about, and I welcome and love the friction and the reminders of how important the human is in the equation. Last example, we can use an AI tool to create a logo in 4 steps. Does that replace the work that I'm able to do thoughtfully over the course of 4 months after listening to someone's business goals, exploring different directions visually that capture a client, in a way, in a brand that they can use for the rest of the lifetime of their business? No, it can't do that. And so I'm not really worried. I don't. I'm not worried about being replaced by AI because
Mm.
I can do my job better. But we should
Right.
all pause and go, how do we make sure that we're well positioned, even with some slight tweaks,
Mhm.
to make sure that our business revolves around the human component that AI can't replace? That is hugely important that we constantly think about that so that we are secure in our businesses and in our positioning.
Yeah. So this last question, this last kind of thought, because I'm really interested to know what you think about this, Phil. So I'm in the podcasting video creator community, and we talk a lot. And one of the things that I have seen just in the last year is like tools like Descript has changed we have a vertical where we do editing and podcast production for, clients. And I've
Yeah.
seen the way that I used to. I mean, I grew up on Adobe version 2 or something. I don't know. But I mean, like, it's changed the way I edit, like, completely. Like,
Yeah.
because it's all text-based now. I can do it in a script. And then even like this week, the one of the CEOs of Apple said that search is dying. Like, search engine, finding your business through Google is kind of changing. The whole layout is changing because of AI.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because, some businesses are going to change completely. Like, I think editing, the people who are editing videos, it's eventually going to just have conversations with it, and it's going to do it for them. So that goes, okay, do editors need to still have, like, will I pay for an editor or will I pay for a program? I mean, there's all these questions. I mean, Chris Stone and I had a talk about it, and he was thinking that, there's always going to have to be a storyteller behind it, which I agree. But what are your thoughts about this so fast of a shift about businesses keeping up? Like, a lot of people, their top of funnel is Google, and that could go away. So what are your thoughts on how, in this kind of, we're talking about future proofing, what can businesses do?
Yeah, it's a big question. So let me give you some initial ideas on this. I think it's scary because it's change. So rightfully, people are concerned or scared or anxious. I always validate any of those responses to anything related to AI because they are valid responses. Um, Even if it's not something I'm experiencing in my business, that doesn't
Hmm.
mean that it's valid for someone else. So, SEO, for example, you mentioned search is dramatically changing. But I've talked to experts, I've talked to friends that do that for a living, and they say, well, it's changing, but the mechanics are similar. So you go through the process of building thought leadership to show up in Google in very similar ways to being able to show up in in tools like ChatGPT. It's a similar process. There's going to be slight differences that we're all learning as we do, but the process of, for example, of building thought leadership or relevancy is still the same. So don't, be concerned, but don't freak out because
Right.
chances are the things that you need to do to show up in Google are still very similar to the things that you need to be doing to show up and get recommended in ChatGPT. I would say stay curious, continue to soak up information and recommendations from experts that are drawing on their experience, wins from clients, wins from their own, brands or portfolios. That's at least that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of I know someone, for example, who specializes in SEO is doing this day to day in the way that I'm doing branding and content creation day to day. There's still so much to learn as it so quickly evolves, which you've highlighted, that I think, yes, the mediums and the platforms are going to change, but the mechanics still stay relatively the same. And so, don't worry too much. I'm an optimist, though. That's
Hmm.
always going to be a
Right.
flavor in the
Yeah.
advice I give.
That's great. And we once again, we've got so many great comments. Kira says, I used to use Sony Vegas and Premiere all the time. And even they're so
Hmm.
powerful, AI tools are so much more efficient in their process now.
Yeah.
And then Gary says it all. He goes, fascinating talk today, guys.
Thanks, Gary.
Phil, I could keep going for another 2 hours because you're just the guy to talk to. You're very easy to understand. You're awesome. I just thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming on the show. But I want to give people a chance where they can find you, get your book, all the things that is Phil Pallen. Tell people where they can find you.
Sure. So, yeah, we published this in January. People say, Phil, how did you write a book on AI on a topic that's constantly changing? In the way that Connor already highlighted it, I focused on the aspects on the topic that are really as evergreen as possible. So the book goes through every aspect of business as highlighted on the cover. The ones where I, been working for 15 years, marketing, owning my business, operations and logistics, sales, like those are things that I've been doing just by nature of owning a business, but also topics that I didn't know as well, like data analysis and security. I didn't know anything about that. So writing the book was such a great opportunity to also learn and share what I've learned over the years, combined with tool recommendations. That's pretty evergreen, although there has been obviously some changes. Some of these AI companies just disappear, but many of them, when I'm recommending them, they're tools that I've either tried myself or I've thoroughly researched. And there's almost, I think, or more than 200 of them in the book when you add them all up. And then stories. Owning a branding agency has really given me a window into so many different industries and types of jobs that throughout the book, I use real and hypothetical examples of my actual clients across as many industries as I could come up with. So that's what the book is about. In addition to the book, I create content, 1 to 2 videos a week on YouTube. And then Instagram, I'm often just I travel a lot and keep busy with all kinds of exciting things. And I keep people up to date on Instagram. And then I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn as well. Those are probably the 3 platforms that I spend the most time. But you took the time to hang out with us today. Please, let's connect: LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. And we really appreciate your time. There's a lot of places you could be, but the fact you're hanging out with us today on a Friday means the world.
Yeah, we have the best audience around. Oh, and real quick, I got to ask this because I know Gary, it's really important to him. But what camera and lens are you using for that dreamy bouquet? Okay.
Oh, well, thank you. This is a Sony ZV. Is it a ZVE10? Or it's like the pretty standard one for live streaming. And then I have a Sigma lens that was a couple $100, but that's, I think, what creates the effect, not the camera.
Hmm.
Um, This is the one that sits over my desk. My office is actually really small. It looks way bigger on camera. It's an illusion. So this camera I use for my like streaming or podcast interviews. You see it auto-focusing. And then I use a Sony A7 III for my YouTube videos. That's hooked up over here behind a prompter. And so I use those are the two that I have.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And where can we find out more about the amazing, unsinkable Connor Brown?
VacationKingdoms.com, of course, at Vacation Kingdoms over on Instagram, and my new Instagram handle at Theme Park Happy Hour. I'm drinking around the theme parks of Orlando. Check it out.
I'm going to join
Give
you
it a
next time.
follow. Awesome. Fantastic show today.
Yeah, thank you guys. And by the way, I would love for you guys, if you want to keep up to date on all our guests and the shows coming up, go to jeffc.com/news, sign up for the newsletter. We have fun in our email community, so go check that out. It's totally free, jeffc.com/news. Thanks again for our amazing sponsors, Ecamm. Find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. Save 15% by using Jeff15 on checkout. And with that, thank you guys so much. This was an amazing show, Phil. Thank you so much for coming on. We got to do this again. I still want to do the Midjourney Firefly duel sometime together. That would be so much fun. And with that, everybody, yeah, all right, we'll do that. So everybody, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Have a